and welcome back to my living room. It's not very often that I do videos in here, but honestly I kind of enjoy it. I don't think I'd want to do it all the time because I really get excited going out hiking and stuff like that and filming doing that, but it is like a nice change of pace. Just taking my time, setting up the tripod, plugging in the microphone, because I actually use my camera for this video, whereas normally I use my phone, so it's a little bit different. But anyways, enough of that. Here's what you came for. You wanted to know, what do you need to actually go river tubing on your own? And I've made a list of what I call essential supplies. To me, they're what I think is necessary, but you might find your list to be a little bit different. So I just want to go ahead and share what I use. I've been tubing twice now with most of this equipment, and so I believe that it's very helpful. I really am grateful to have it with me when I go tubing. So, disclaimer, I actually filmed some of these parts before I actually went tubing for the first time, just kind of explaining the products that I bought to go tubing, but I hadn't used them yet. Now that I've used them, I do recommend them. All the links for all the products that I'm using are going to be linked below in the description, as well as the blog post, which also has explanation of why you need these different products and how to use them. So today I'm just going to be showing you like more of what they look like. Without further ado, we'll just go ahead and start with the old clips so that you know this is me filming this from last year, which is all the stuff that I bought then, and then I will come back here and show you stuff that I bought since I filmed that first video. So, me and my friends bought these river runs. I got mine from Dick's Sporting Goods, and she got hers from Academy. The Academy ones like say Academy on the back of like the pillow part, so they are a little bit different, but they're really the same thing. They're both made by Intex, and they have this really cool connect to float feature, and they have cup holders and handles. What more could you need? So there's the clasp, which I will show you. Everything's still in the box even though I opened it, but there's the rope to put around, but you have to wait till you blow it up to do that. And then there is another rope in here. Looks like it's shorter. So here's the clasps. So basically you would have one hooked to one end of the rope, obviously, and then the other end hooked to the other end of the rope. They both fit together like this, and then you can push them down. They're really rigid, and then they also twist to lock even further. Actually really difficult to get together and apart, so these are not going anywhere if you're tied to somebody. And they also come with a patch, so if you need to do a repair, there is a repair patch in here. I figured out there's actually two. You're supposed to use this one, but I couldn't unscrew this one without unscrewing this one first. So you're supposed to unscrew this one to let all the air out, but to fill it up, this is an air in only. It won't let air out on this end. So to actually fill it up, you want this one closed and this one open. And I found out that my air mattress pump nozzle fits perfectly in there. So all I'll have to do is connect it, and I'll be able to do that. I will be able to plug into my car, and we'll be able to inflate them when we get there. I also have these guys. So these are just like foam squishy wrist straps, but they also double as floating devices. One of these is going to go on my phone, and that will be just in case something, if I were to drop my phone, at least it'll be floating and I can grab it. So yeah, that is the plan with those, because I will be filming with my phone, taking y'all along with me. And I got these off Amazon, pretty cheap, Amazon Prime, and we'll see how they do. Speaking of Amazon Prime, I also got this phone case. So this is a waterproof phone case I'm also going to put on my phone just to be safe. I've already water tested it as well, that's why it's already open. And last but not least, I got a hat. I am not a hat person. I can't remember the last time I wore a hat, but I bought this one off Amazon. It's got a hole for my ponytail, so I already kind of tried it out. I haven't worn it, but I tried it and it does work really well, so it fits. And this is a necessity because we'll be out in direct sunlight all day. So I'm like, I do need a hat. We'll see how this one does. I will let you know. I got the case on, and this is a test to make sure that the sound still works, because I don't know. Okay, good news. The sound works, and I just attached my floaty handle, so we are good to go. All right. I also got, for that first video, but I guess I got it after I filmed that part, so I didn't show you. I don't know what happened, but anyways, first thing on our list here, this dry bag. It is huge, but that's because it rolls up. So a dry bag essentially is water resistant. Like, this is like a plasticky material. Very much like water will just roll off it. However, it's not waterproof. It's not submersible because this does not have a sealing mechanism. It basically works on just pressure of folding it, and you roll it however many times. The bag says roll it like 3 times. And then it's got these clips. You buckle it together and you're good to go. Beauty of it is then you can attach it to things with the buckle. And this will attach to the float. The float's got line all around it, so you can attach things to it. So you can just buckle this to the float and let it float down behind you. I did use this the very first time I went tubing, and then I learned that it wasn't waterproof enough for tubing. It's good for stuff like snacks, maybe some water. I suggest, you know, putting your snacks in a like waterproof containers, typically, you know, like Tupperware and that sort of thing, and then putting them in here so they all stay together and you don't lose any. And that way when water gets in there, it's not going to ruin anything. Don't put dry clothes, don't put towels in here because they're going to get wet. I had my wallet in here, my car keys, and they got wet. So with that being said, what I then purchased for my second tubing trip was this waterproof fanny pack. Now this is actually waterproof and submersible because it actually has like a Ziploc bag kind of sealing on it. It's got 3 of them. It's ultra secure. So basically you would just squeeze all the air out, and then you like, just like you do a Ziploc bag, just close all 3 of these up. And then it's really stiff because I haven't used a whole lot. And then you just roll these up. This Velcro cover to keep it secure, and you're good to go. This is perfect for your car keys, your wallet, your cell phone if you want to take it with you, stuff like that. And the beauty of it is it's a fanny pack. It's adjustable just like any fanny pack. It's got the buckle and everything. And the beauty of it is it'll be out of your way. It's secure. It's not going to go anywhere because it's going to be like really physically attached to you. And it's not going to be in your way while you're flailing around. That sounds terrible. While you're flailing around in your tube. But in a fun way, not like you're in danger of flailing around. Yeah. Basically, when you go tubing, you do need to use your arms and legs, so this is nice because it's just around your waist, it's out of the way. You will be using all your limbs to go tubing, so it's nice to have this out of the way. Next on the list are the Carabiners. So I bought these ones the first time around. They're really cheap from Walmart. These ones in particular are a lot smaller. They're only rated for 60 pounds. But then I went back and got these bigger ones. They are rated for 150 pounds. Not that you're gonna need that necessarily, but this one's kind of flimsy, and look, it does stuff like that. I mean, these are cheap. It still works, just gotta make sure it's secure. These ones are a little more reliable because they're so hefty, because they're bigger. So I would recommend getting the bigger ones if you get these. These will be linked below, these particular ones. But of course, there are beefier, better quality ones if you feel like your stuff's not as secure with those. I've used them, I haven't had a problem. But I just always make sure that they're closed all the way. So if that is a concern for you, then I would advise getting, you know, paying a little bit more and getting like one of the locking ones maybe, because they've got ones designed that have like a little slide lock that you have to pull the slide down before you can do this. So that might be something to consider. Next on the list, I highly recommend Nalgene water bottles. Like, I've been using their water bottles for years. I don't even know how long, like forever. And my oldest water bottle, should I show it to you? I'm currently drinking out of it, but this is my oldest water bottle, the first Nalgene bottle I bought. For the longest time, it was the only one I had. The strap broke off of it, My friend 3D printed a new one. It doesn't work as well, but I mean, the beautiful thing about it is like, even without the strap, like you really don't need the strap necessarily on these. They last forever. I've dropped it like 1,000 times. It is so scuffed and beat up from all the drops on concrete and stuff like that. I don't know if this will focus. I'll show you. See how scarred up this is. Like it's lived life. It's lived a rough life. My clumsy rough life. So it has survived. I've dropped it so many times, full of water too, so it's super heavy. On concrete, on rocks, like everywhere, beat it up. And it's never busted, it's never leaked. I've never had an issue with it. That's the other thing, they don't leak. It was just crazy because it's just like, it's just plastic on plastic screw. So I love Nalgene water bottles, highly recommend. This one glows in the dark, just side note, I love glow in the dark things, so that's what got me really excited about this one. These hold like 32 ounces of water, and they have like the measurements over here, and they're perfect for this. They're perfect for like everything, but I especially love it for tubing because the handle is secure as long as, you know, it hasn't worn out and broken off. They are perfect to hook on to the carabiner and then hook onto your tube, and it can float behind you. So highly recommend this water bottle. I would take like 2 of these tubing because you're gonna need a lot of water. It's hot out there and the sun will make you thirsty. So next on the list, I recommend getting some line. This is called Marine Utility Line. So it is actually specially designed to be submersed in the water and not deteriorate too fast. And it's good quality, designed for the water, so it's perfect for this. You might want to keep some on board with you, maybe keeping your dry bag, to just in case someone needs help or something, you can throw them a line, something like that. Or you might want to use it as an anchor, like if you want to stop somewhere along the river, you can tie one end to your tube and then the other end to like a tree nearby. Or you can also use it, I suggested using it, the last place I tubed at, the spot where you exit is very difficult to get out, and so I was like, tie this to the tree there at the takeout point and then set it out in the water to where you can, well, kind of strain amongst the trees, otherwise it'll just be downstream and it won't do you any good. But string it along the trees to a point where you can reach it up creek before you need to get out, and that way you can use it as a guide to help pull you out. So lots of uses for this. This is just handy to have on hand. I honestly have not used it yet though, but I plan to use it soon. So highly recommend having it as more of like a just in case item, but there's plenty of uses for it too. So just even outside of tubing, you never know when you need a bundle of rope. Another like not necessary thing, but maybe beneficial to you, is a paddle. Yes, it's a very short paddle because that's what you need in a tube, because you're really close to the water and a long paddle is just too awkward and you can't use it. This is what they call an emergency paddle. It's meant to be just left aboard watercraft just for emergencies if you need the paddle, and that's why it collapses all small and it telescopes. It goes out as far as like a normal paddle does, and all you do is just like twist it to open it and close it, and then it locks. So we use these. I bought these for the second tubing trip because first tubing trip it was like using your arms and your feet, like you get exhausted so quickly, and it was really hard to like steer, and I thought, well, a paddle would be easier. Well, disclaimer, you really just can't steer a tube. Like you really just kind of go wherever the water leads you because of the shape of it and like how your weight sits in it and everything. You're really just kind of dead weight floating down the river. So, or a live weight. I hope you're not dead. But paddle is still helpful. It's just, don't expect it to be like a kayak or anything, because you're not going to be able to do that with these. But the paddle does help you. It does keep you from getting tired so quickly, and can be helpful in emergency situations as well. So good for like pushing off of stuff and stuff like that. So I recommend getting a paddle, but it's not entirely necessary. Last but not least, I did mention the hat that I got the first time I went tubing, and it actually gave me a headache. It was like too tight, and it just fit weird. It was a really cheap one off Amazon. I didn't like it, so I ended up getting rid of it. So I just recently bought this hat. I still haven't used it yet, but it's a fishing style hat, and it's nice because it's got the brim all the way around, so if it does start raining on you, I feel like it's more sun and more rain protection. But the downside of it, I was just thinking, is if something were to happen, this neck thing might choke you. So might want to be careful of that. But other than that, for me personally, I prefer this, but you might prefer a regular baseball style cap, so that one's kind of just up to you. But I do recommend a hat of some kind for sun protection and rain protection, because the first time we went tubing, it actually rained on us. If you haven't watched that video, it'll be linked at the end of this one. But yeah, it was crazy, and I was so thankful I had a hat, because otherwise rain would have just been falling in my eyes, and it would just been like I couldn't see anything. It would have been painful, so it would have been really bad. So I was really grateful to have the hat, and then like I said, added sun protection, because you're gonna be out there for like 4 hours plus. Most of the river tubing around here is about that length, and you can't really reapply sunscreen in the water because you're wet. So highly suggest having a hat. That way you can protect your face more and you don't get sunburned. And last but certainly not least, safety. Tubing is a lot of fun, but it can be dangerous if you're not prepared. So I must admit, I did not wear a life jacket the first 2 times that I went tubing, because I didn't think it was necessary. But now that I'm planning my next tubing trip, I'm realizing that it's actually better safe to have it than to not. By Tennessee state law, you are required to have a life jacket on board with you, easy to grab, if you are kayaking, canoeing, or stand-up paddleboarding. Now, the law doesn't say anything about tubing, so I don't know. But I think they kind of figure you would use common sense and figure that if you need it for those activities where you're like outside of the water, you really need it for the one activity where you're really in the water, which is in the tube. So you're better safe than sorry, as I say. And when it comes to this, like, you're really better safe than sorry. And what really sold me on the life jacket this time around is thinking about it. Like, if I were somehow to get separated from my tube, which hadn't happened before, but it very potentially could happen, and where I'm tubing, the water's usually rushing really fast, there's rocks submerged, like you don't know what it looks like underneath the water, there could be other obstacles, there's rapids, there's a bunch of stuff going on. And the last thing I want to have to do is like think about not drowning. So instead, I would rather focus my energy and my efforts on trying to get back in my tube and trying to, you know, make it safely to shore, whatever the case may be. And wearing a life jacket will allow you to do that, because you don't have to think about swimming. Like, it'll keep you afloat, and that's its purpose. So a lot of people die from drowning every year, and I would rather you not be one of those numbers, myself included. So going forward, I'm going to recommend having a life jacket, because there's no reason not to have one, honestly. And at first when I was looking at life jackets, they were like really expensive, and I was like, I don't know, is it really worth it? But I actually found this really cheap at Walmart. It's like half the price of what most life jackets cost, and it'll be perfect for this. And the beauty of it is, I'm only going to use it maybe a handful of times throughout the year. So as long as you're keeping it dry and in cool storage, it should last you for quite a while. Now, if you do plan on going out and using your life jacket a lot more often, I would suggest spending a little more money and getting a better quality one. But for what I'll be using this, like how little I'll be using this was definitely worth the cheap investment. So that is my suggestion for you. Well, that pretty much sums up all the items for tubing. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if I missed anything, or if you have any questions about anything. And next week's video, going tubing again. So you'll definitely want to check it out, come back and see that. But that is it for this week's video. So I will see you next week.